right, so there's some weird talk around Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and apparently it comes out and turns out that he was actually diagnosed with prostate cancer, but that's not the weird part. So obviously we've covered over the last couple of days that he was in the hospital, that there was some controversy over the fact that he was admitted, didn't tell anybody, and people were saying, like, this guy's a really important position not to tell people that he admitted himself to the hospital, and he's just disappeared for a couple of days. Now, I am not going to say, there's a lot of other stuff that is being said. The Twitter and, of course, some of the forums out there have some information that's really quite crazy, to be honest. But none of it is confirmed. The deeper we went down to it, we found the root of it was either a satire website or a website that might be telling the truth, but mostly declares themselves as satire because they get, people get it going after them all the time. But there was this like kind of side theory that he was visiting in UKR and something happened to him because of Russia. What they are saying, and we'll quickly see if he ends up doing a speech and saying, I have this and that, then it will quickly kind of put that to sleep. But the reason why that would be important if he got taken out by somewhere, that would be a huge deal. Lloyd Austin travels the world. He is, of course, the Secretary of Defense. He's in charge of a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. And it says that Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, during a press conference in Mykhailovsk Square, Kiev, and that Secretary Austin recovered uneventfully from his surgery and returned home the next morning. His prostate cancer was detected early, and his prognosis is excellent. So obviously, if he's just back and doing his normal job and he's going to go through some treatment and this and that, then nothing really to say. But many people still have the question, why the heck did he admit himself so oddly? Why was it all quiet? Were they not going to say something about it? See, if a president had something like this, then yeah, it would be a giant deal, because if the president is weak or in any kind of position where he might not come out of surgery or something, then they have to kind of get their, in fact, if President JB had this similar situation and went under for a surgery, technically, if they go fully under, they might even have to transfer over power to, I don't know, say a VP. Oh, the Secretary of Defense, it was just very, very odd. So we're going to talk about this. We have a ton to go over. In fact, there's a lot going on right now, and we're going to talk about the Pacific tensions are rising. We are going to talk about the jellyfish UFO. Now, this is military footage, supposedly, and it's from Jeremy Corbell that they are releasing this, that it came from the military, and it goes in and out of existence. We're going to talk about major unrest in Ecuador. They have all sorts of videos coming out of people being held, police and military that are essentially being held. And, of course, another country braces for war, and we're not talking about Ecuador. In fact, we're going to talk about Sweden, and we just talked about Dutch commander of Netherlands on his way out said that they need to get ready for war with Russia. Now Sweden is saying the same thing. And of course you have Japan working with Poland and NATO. All sorts of really, really big events are happening. Putin's, quote, secret weapon. What's really happening in the tunnels? Very, very scary and freaky stuff there. Twitter lands new talent. We have Oops or Hack You Decide. And, of course, comparing Trump to JFK. EpiPen, the woman who said that not only T-Man, but Billy and Branson and all of that, we just talked about. And I guess the retracted claims, now they're unretracted, but minus T-Man. In fact, now she's doubling down on those same claims. So we're going to talk about a lot today. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, we got a really good show for you today. As always, it's packed with all sorts of craziness, and it seems like aliens are the theme of this week, because now, after the whole Miami Mall incident and them saying that these crazy 8 to 10 foot aliens that were coming in and out of existence, sort of like Spirited Away, if you've ever seen that movie, that these shadow people came in and out of existence. Obviously, everybody's going to have their own thoughts, whether that was real or totally a hoax or some sort of cover up for something else. Now, Jeremy Corbell and a bunch of others are talking about this video of this really crazy thing. Now, if you see the thumbnail, there was a couple of clips of this. Let me make sure that I have this rightly framed here so you can see it, actually. So check this out. On the very, very far right in that red circle is the thermal camera showing it kind of at its best. Now, when I saw this, I swear to you, I almost thought that somebody took, if that was a hoax, I know where they got it. It looks straight out of a Zerg Overmind from the game. It even has the spikes on the top and the hanging legs and how it is floating. So it almost made me think like that is what it is. And I didn't know, like when I first saw the clip, I'm like, who has this? Where's this from? And they're saying that it's from supposedly military footage from thermal cameras or uncreative CIA agents. Who knows? But if you look at that, does that not remind you, if anybody played StarCraft back in the day, if you're close to 40 like me, you probably have. And then it goes almost invisible in the other frames. So it goes in and out. We'll take a look at it here in a minute. But the reason why we're talking about it is it's going to end up in some congressional hearing at some point, because this is something that Jeremy Corbell and all of these people that are in that circle are talking about. It's just absolutely nuts what is going on. But first, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So going past the Lloyd Austin thing, we're gonna fly over here, and we are going to be talking about Taiwan. So let's see here. We've got a missile, rocket, or a satellite. Chinese flyover sows confusion in Taiwan. Dex, do you want to go over this one?
Certainly. So they issued a emergency alert, and I think there's maybe even a screenshot on the next tab for this. You guys can see what they at least presented in the article. But they sent this alert to all the mobile phones across the island to 23 million people because of this thing. They're saying it was a satellite, not a missile, according to President Tsai Ing-wen said during a campaign stop in the southern city of Koxing. He said, "Don't worry." But we don't know. And right now, I guess that's what some people are wondering. Obviously, we've seen numerous things from balloons, obviously the incursions that have happened across the median line, the continuous surrounding of the island with military ships and continuous bombardment of aircraft across that line, as I was saying. And we've even seen some mysterious lines being cut, internet lines and other things being cut under the water, cables being cut. All of this continues to happen to Taiwan. And we know that we've heard Xi say it twice in the first week of the year, at two different speeches within the first week of the year. He said that Taiwan will be reunified with China. Now, what they would love to see happen is after this election, they've paid the right people, they've lined the right pockets, and just like they did in Hong Kong, it happens peacefully. But more than likely, what we're going to see is a taking by force. And as every time we see these little things happen, whether it be rockets going over now or a satellite going over, or whatever it may be, they're not sure. That's just yet another sign of the coming event between China and Taiwan.
Well, you could also say they're getting them mentally prepared for this kind of thing. Whatever ended up happening there, it's we every time we've had the presidential alert here, the presidential alert in our country is the doomsday system. Like, people want to call it whatever they want to call it, but the presidential alert at the base of its kind of root, purpose is if something really bad was going to happen, if a asteroid was going to hit New York, they would use the presidential alert. If there was a solar flare and they knew it was coming in 8 minutes, the first part of it, they would use the presidential alert. If there was some huge event or a tsunami from a nuke, they would use the presidential alert. So I'm wondering how close that is for them as far as their use. But looks like most of the country kind of copies what we do here. So now we're going to be moving over to North Korea. So North Korea artillery drills violated long-established buffer zones, South Korea claims. South Korea is claiming North Korean artillery drills have invalidated long-established buffer zones. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff announced on Monday that it will resume drills in the area in response to the North Korean artillery bombardment, saying that the restrictions on the zone no longer exist. An agreement in 2018 between Seoul and Pyongyang established the buffer zones as a prohibited area for artillery fire or military drills. Earlier this month, the North Korean military initiated a multi-day bombardment of the border region with hundreds of artillery shells in a series of military drills. South Korean intelligence estimates that approximately 200 shells fired into the area on Friday and an additional 60 on Saturday. The South Korean Defense Ministry reported fired approximately 400 rounds in response to the provocation. So on top of their 260, they actually fired about 400 back. We gravely warn that the entire responsibility of such a crisis escalating situations lies with North Korea and strongly call for its immediate halt. South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff spokesman Colonel Lee Sung-jun said at a press conference during the artillery fire. The western sea border between North Korean and South Korean territory has been the site of multiple skirmishes since the end of the Korean War. Naval combat broke out briefly in 1999, 2022, and in 2009. Funny, they did it 1999, 22, and then back to 09, but either way. An interesting video Dex and I watched earlier. Dex, you found that great video. Who is that channel? Do you remember the name of that channel? They do military battles in 30 seconds, and it shows a map. That was a great video, and it shows essentially the battle of North Korea and South Korea, and it even shows when other forces came in, and it shows it going from red to going back. Do you remember that channel name? That was such a well put together thing.
I'm looking it up. It's map something. Yeah, hang on. It's my history.
It's I want to say it's such a cool video because it shows you a breakdown, and it goes day by day and by year.
It's maps in a nutshell, all one word. Maps, MAPS, in a nutshell. Maps in a nutshell.
Yeah, we understand how much work goes into something like that. Every single day it used real data of how North Korea and South Korea were fighting. It shows how they advanced. At one point, North Korea almost had all of South Korea, and then Japan jumped in, and others jumped in and pushed them back. They pushed them back and took almost all of North Korea. Then it comes back down, and of course, you see Russia jump in on their side, and then it pushes it back down. And that final line that they have today, they never essentially ended their war. They just kind of had this treaty that they would stop altogether. And both sides kind of put a permanent pause or a somewhat permanent pause on it, right? But the thing is with this, North Korea is a buffer between everything up above and South Korea and other nations that are allied with us. And if this ends up going off, we're backing up South Korea. We now have Venezuela and Guyana. We have Ukraine and Russia. We have Israel and Hamas. We now have Ecuador. It's just crazy how many different places are getting triggered right now. And then North Korea vows military strike if any provocation fires artillery. Now, we actually covered part of this the other day, talking about how the sister chimed in, but there was a quote that we don't believe we actually covered. And this quote kind of is making its rounds back around. And let me see if I can see this. This is the quote, and this is the beginning of it. I make myself clear once again, the safety catch of the trigger of the Korean People's Army had already been slipped. Kim Yo-jong, this is supposedly Kim Jong-un's sister, one of the most powerful members of Kim Jong-un's regime, and then says, as already declared, the KPA will launch an immediate military strike if the enemy makes even a slight provocation. Essentially saying that if anything happens, that will be what ends up going down. So that I thought was a pretty strong words. We are already being set up here in the U.S., and I can't speak for the rest of the world, but how they are talking about how the U.S. and South Korea are preparing for a possible surprise attack from North Korea, that they would do some sort of artillery, and that this artillery thing, would be compared to October 7th with Israel. So I thought that was interesting, and they've already changed their constitution in North Korea to where if they believe any one of their personnel at the very top is being taken out or attempt on their life, then that they will automatically fire nukes at the U.S. Not at anybody else. Russia could shoot a pot shot at them, and they'll go, we're bombing the U.S. That's essentially what their constitution or whatever they call that document, that's what it would do. Speaking of which, North Korea has threatened a whole lot of things, and pretty much every adversary has threatened the same thing. Before we move on, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is an actual way that you can protect yourself against not only EMP, but also against CME or a Carrington level event. EMP is not a guaranteed. There's a lot of adversaries that have threatened this against us, and an EMP could knock down our grid as long as 2 years. And that's assuming that our supply chain is still working, that we can fix everything. If this ends up happening, one thing you can protect is your cars, trucks, transportation, motorcycles, motorhomes, obviously your ham radios, your generators, and even your home, and have everything within 250 linear feet plugged in to where it's wired into your home. That can be protected not only against EMP, but also against the Carrington level event from the sun. Now, a solar event, that is more probable, and it is a probable, it will happen, compared to a possible. Either way, if you want to protect yourself, this will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. That way you can drive home to get home to bug in, or to drive out to bug out and get out. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This isn't something you're going to be able to get after the event. It's not going to be something you can get after everything hits the fan. Or even a major event. It's going to be something that you won't need until you do need it, and once you do need it, you're going to thank yourself that you did. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF for $50 off, and you're helping our independent channel. Thank you. And then Dex, let's zoom over to Iraq, and why don't you cover the leaked U.S. military vid and what that is showing?
All right, so this is kind of crazy. This is a leaked video that apparently was released by Jeremy Corbell. He said the leaked video was captured by the U.S. military back in 2018. And he said the troops were told to, quote, hunt it down. So this is that jellyfish-looking video. I think we have the video on another tab. We can show it in just a minute. But the flying object can be seen switching colors from black to white as it glides over a military base. According to the filmmaker, the eerie object allegedly went into the lake and stayed underwater for 17 minutes. Then it came out and shot off to the sky at an angle of 45 degrees. Corbell said, it goes over a body of water. I'm told it stops on a dime. It descends stiff into the water for 17 minutes. Nothing. And boom, the thing comes out of the water and shoots off at 45 degrees. That's the quote. I don't think that part's actually in the video. These are some of the descriptions that were given by the witnesses there in the military that were tracking it and trying to hunt it down. The witnesses have told the investigators that each of the hanging legs were stiff and weren't moving. and the soldiers with night vision equipment couldn't detect the UFO unless they used thermal stratum. So that was the only way they could see it, was with thermal imaging. So pretty amazing, claims here. This hasn't come out from the military, so the military didn't say this is theirs. Although the video very much looks like it's from the military, the releaser is claiming that it's from the military. So at this time, we're not 100% sure what this is. It's just getting talked about, and everyone's pointing it out, and everybody's talking about jellyfish. And good for Jeremy, who put it out there and he's done a lot of documenting on other objects. He's not new to this. He's covered a few different things in the past and other things that have happened around the world in the UFO space. So, what do you think?
As far as this goes, the other thing I thought was, is this a plastic bag? If you've ever seen a plastic bag kind of fly in the wind, what's crazy is it looks like a Zerg, and that's the best way I could describe it. And because there's nothing, I don't think any of us have ever seen that looks like this. It has 4 or 5 hanging legs, and then it is going essentially clear. But when you look at it carefully, and I was looking at some of the different scenes where it goes clear, you don't really see too much of the behind. If it's camouflaging, then if it was reflecting the light from whatever's behind it from that viewpoint, you would see the roof lines and things like that. I sort of thought I saw it doing that, but then again, so let me show you an example here. Right there, the roof line is behind it. So right here, and see, it's right here. It's hard to see because it's now clear. But just to show you this little part here, it then, boom. It goes, in this short amount of time, it goes from dark black to nothing. But then also, you don't really see the dark shaded area down here. You don't see the light area up here. And this is a thermal camera. As far as the things hanging down off of it, what if it was a couple popped balloons or something, and one of them was behind, but I don't know. Would that even show up on a thermal camera? So it is a very strange video, and how straight it goes. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down. It's going straight, like it has some sort of propulsion, right? And it is, it's very freaky. Later on in it, you see it. It's just kind of going very, very solidly straight. There is a spot here when it's going over these houses where, if you look at the tops of the roofs, it does go up and down a little bit. But that could be whatever is watching it. If that was a drone, if that was a predator drone or something, that could have been it too. What do you guys think? Let's go over to the chat. And thank you, Julie Pilkerton. Thank you for joining as a member. Prepperman, thank you for the super chat. Says JP Morgan will be filing bankruptcy 12324. Again, with JP Morgan, I think with all of the big banks, we'll probably see some pretty bad things happen over time. I mean, if you look at everybody's counting up our national debt, I wonder how many times we're going to be able to bail out the big banks after the next disaster. And then Trusted Source, thank you for gifting out a badge. And it looks like Saren and Steve, thank you for subscribing. Renee Vincent, thank you for subscribing as well. Stephen McMahon, thank you yesterday for being one of the last ones out. Thanks to our great mods. Stay salty, everyone. And then K. Parker Frazier, Genius by Birth, Schaefer Girl, Danish Girl, thank you. Chanel Beveliqua from the Bible Belt, Tennessee. It's been a minute. Thank you so much for your support this week. Mexican Johnny, thank you for subscribing. Overwatch Protective, thank you for subscribing. Sir Constantine and Crystal 98120, thank you so much. And then J.R. Pale Horse. Thank you, everybody that has made it. What do you guys think it is? Let's go over to the chat and see what you guys think of this. Let's see here. How did 2008 happen again? And let me turn off my ugly face here. Let's see. Okay, so Bobby Sue Fry, nice to see you. It's an Overlord. So I believe it's called an Overmind from StarCraft. And that's exactly what I thought. And I actually put the Zerg Overmind in the thumbnail. If you look, that image, Zerg in real life, It even has the spikes on top. And I'm thinking, is this like if that was the case, would this be a prank by a Blizzard gaming uh, nerd who ended up getting thrown over to CIA or something? It's like, somebody that was really talented computer guy, loved StarCraft, and then made this. It has the hanging legs and everything. The first thing I thought was an Overmind. Is it called Overlord? Maybe that's why I couldn't find many pictures of it. It's BS. That's what it is, says Tina Jarvis. Stager Wee, what's going on? KT cleans a lot. Nerd. Hey, I'm a nerd. Just take a look behind me. President JB coming in for a landing. Yeah, there's no stairs around, so we're good. Space Invaders, bird poop on the camera lens. I don't know. You'll have to watch it for yourself on a big screen. Fallen Angel or BS. Daniel Sen, yep, BS. Candy Jedi, Briar Patch, or could it be my mother-in-law? Well, yeah. The only thing is, your mother-in-law doesn't disappear. Way too much fun with that. Okay. Scratch on the lens, making do, just comment and go.
Or reappear.
Yeah, I actually
or
reappear.
Reappear after 17 minutes underwater.
Yeah, but they don't show that. They don't show that on the video. If I saw that, that would be cool. And don't get any ideas about putting your mother-in-law underwater for 17 minutes. No human. I don't even think David Blaine could do that. So, but I'm not going to give you guys advice, family advice. I'm not a therapist. Blue beam 100%. That very well could be too. And what's so crazy is there's so much more. Yesterday or the day before, Project Bluebeam was all over the place, and that is because the technology for Project Bluebeam on Earth or even low down to ground is totally here. They are doing these crazy. Projections, multi-projection units that can project a 3D image. I mean, they've done it for years. If you haven't seen some of the TED Talks where they have somebody in a holograph, pop up on stage, it's very crazy what they were able to do years ago, thinking about it, what they could do now. But as far as this video, it's up to everybody. It's 2D. It's bad fake put on gun cam footage. Well, and that little crosshair thing, I guess that could be added through any one of those things. When you see that kind of footage, what if that was footage, a real footage of a drone that was taking out bad guys? We've all seen it where they fire a 50 cal or something and then it goes and then everything blows up. Use footage from that, then overlay something on top. But I don't know. I think that there's going to be people that don't know too. You're going to have to go check out the video and the tweet, go over and support the creator that put it out and the people that are doing it, because obviously that is whoever's putting out the video should get that credit. All right, and then let's see here. Yeah, and it is pretty nuts. And that tweet is available over on our website. Thank you, Ilea, says Adam. I'm slipping on my nightly workout. It's been 3 nights. I need a motivational speech. And you're asking me. I'll work on it by the end of the show if you're still here. Or, I don't know. Maybe it won't work out. Okay, I'm done. All right, and now we're going to go over to Ecuador. We're going to talk about the Ecuador and the situation that is over there. Armed men stormed live Ecuador TV show with machine guns and bombs as presenters cower. So, Dex, what the heck happened here? And, why is Ecuador now in the news on top of all of the other countries that are at the brink of war? Now, Ecuador.
Well, it seems like at this stage, the violence or the violent criminals of the country are taking over. They took over the national television. They came out on a live broadcast. They took over the studio. They started to detain people against their will. And I think at this point, part of them have been arrested through this. But at the same time, they actually, as it's been reported as well, they started to attack other locations throughout the country there. So The men who entered the studio were hooded, and one could reportedly be heard saying, "We are on the air so that we know that we do not play with the mafia." They reportedly were also hearing shouting and "No police." So, this they've got a lot of problems happening in Ecuador. This is probably going to escalate. I know they brought the military out in the streets. They're trying to regain control of the country at the moment. If this is going to escalate to a much bigger event, or if it was just an isolated handful of locations that this happened and it'll get squashed, we will see. A little bit of time needs to unfold. We've gotten lots of little reports here and there about what's happening, but we'll have to pay attention to it as, obviously things kicked off today in a big way. I don't know how long this is going to last in that country before the actual government is able to fix it, or if they won't. Like, what happens if they're turned over in some strange way? Wouldn't be the first time countries have had that happen. But right now they are in a state of emergency, according to President Daniel Nobo.
And another quote is, "The country is kidnapped. This has already gone to another level," wrote Sargox on X, formerly known as Twitter, who posted the footage. "When it hurts me that this is very privileged country reaches this level." And there's also other videos, and I have not had the chance to confirm a lot of them. I was only able to see them right before the show. But there's other videos of essentially about 10 or 12 men, either police or military, that are basically down on their knees, and the guys are surrounding them and doing another video. What is going to happen from that? I don't know if we'll see the result or the ending on X, or if they'll have to remove the ending if it's bad. But we will try to update on this tomorrow. But I guess we will see. And now,
real quick, sorry, Adam, I just want to add, the Ecuadorians are also one of the large groups that have been coming across our border, and it's also one of the pathways that a lot of people go through.
Yep.
And work their way up through Ecuador.
And now we're going to head over to Sweden. Sweden, of course, is because they are now bracing for war as defense and army chiefs issue scary warning to citizens. Now, I've made the point many times that other countries are actually preparing their citizens and telling their people that this is going to happen, and we are not. And if you are preparing for war, you are a crazy prepper. It is put out through MSM and through media and social media, even, that if you're a prepper, you're considered on the crazy end. It's crazy to think that our country would want us unprepared, but they definitely want us dependent. If we are dependent on the government and on the military, that's called control. And they would much rather have that than anything else. But in other countries, for at least a year and a half, 2 years, heavily been preparing their people for war. Now you have actual warnings going out. This is just days after Japan met one of the defense ministry. What was it? Defense ministry? I don't think it was a prime minister, but one of the very high up officials ended up meeting with Poland and saying that they will fully support and back Poland against Russian aggression. Now, everybody is torn on whether this is all propaganda, whether this is really happening the way that they say they are. From my point of view, if there are so many dots pointing to one direction, then most likely part of this is true. And as far as the prepping and the stuff that they're doing on the back page of news, that's what I think is going to be more accurate than the front page, which is, of course, now UFOs, which is now EpiPen's list of the celebrities we've known for years are all a part of this stuff. And of course, on the back page, they are quietly telling countries to prepare for war. War is going to be beneficial for a lot of people, not I would say a lot of people, but not a lot of us. In fact, the majority of us are not going to benefit from war, but a very small chunk of people at the very top will. Almost all of our politicians will. If you look at how many of our politicians are on the boards of all of these defense contractors, it is absolutely insane to see how many are actually connected either on the boards or they are going to get a job afterwards. It's insane. But it says Swedes have been warned to brace for the possibility of war in the wake of their country's anticipated NATO membership in 2024 and the backdrop of Russia's conflict in Ukraine. Speaking at the Folk Oak Forsvar conference in Sälen, Civil Defense Minister Carl Oskar Bolin stressed the urgency of enhancing Sweden's resilience, citing concerns over the sluggish modernization of the civil defense system. Mr. Bolin urged a collective effort from all segments of society, emphasizing the need for swift action. It says, many have said it before me, but let me say it with the force of my office. There could be a war in Sweden, said Mr. Bolin. So break that last part down. And that's actually making a specific point. Many have said it before me, but let me say it again with the force of my office. There could be a war in Sweden. Essentially saying, this isn't just somebody saying it, this is us saying it. It says, drawing parallels with Ukraine, which is facing a full-scale Russian invasion, Mr. Bolin commended their, quote, total resilience. So that's where people are going to go, yeah, sure, and stressed that similar effort in Sweden requires widespread awareness and understanding of the situation. I would also say that maybe UKR is not doing too well. In agreement with Mr. Bolin, Commander-in-Chief Michael Biden echoed the seriousness of the situation, urging individuals to prepare mentally. This is a very serious situation, and the clarity yesterday was unmistakable. It is now about moving from words and understanding to action, warned Mr. Biden, a different Biden. It says, while acknowledging recent investments to bolster Sweden's security, Mr. Biden highlighted the importance of expedited NATO membership for further strengthening on the country's defense capabilities. Hope is not a strategy to which build plans, but hope must be there. It's not all doom and gloom, he added. Which, I like the point, but as far as what is happening here is they are actually telling their citizens that this is about to happen. The size of the event that's going to happen, we don't know that. But it is very likely that there will be another world war. World wars are a thing, and world wars, people do perish. But the world doesn't end in a world war. World war is a whole lot different from mutually assured destruction and everywhere is nuked. That's what people assume World War III is going to be. This World War III is going to be cyber attacks, grid downs. It's going to be drone versus drone. It's going to be a lot of technology being used, and it is going to be a lot of communications being taken down, that kind of thing. It's going to be a lot of people in the dark. That's what I believe it's going to be. I don't think they're going to go to nukes. If there is nukes being used, I've said it for years, I think that there may be one or two tactical nukes or something like this to get everything started, or some sort of event that would get us into it, kind of like a Pearl Harbor, something like that. But that only applies to me in my country, to myself and here in the U.S. If you're in other countries, if you're in Europe, you're way more likely to get involved in this. Meanwhile, China, Taiwan, Japan, this whole situation that's going on there, we're starting a Japanese NATO or an Asian NATO. Everyone is preparing. Meanwhile, they are also starting this whole BRICS thing, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That whole thing that they're starting, they have way more countries than anyone thought would be joining that. When you start messing with the world currency, that's where world wars actually start. So I don't know how this is all going to go. But I do know that from a prepper standpoint of view, even if there was a 1% chance of this happening, a lot of us are actually preparing for the worst. So I would hope that everybody is thinking about that when it comes to what is going on here. Dex, comments on Sweden?
Look, these words aren't just thrown around lightly, especially at that level and to the nations in such a way. And it's not just a one-off. It's not just like, one person saying it. We're seeing it over and over again. And this isn't even a NATO country yet. They want to be, but they're not even in. So, yeah, this is a big deal.
And of course, we'll see more. And then let's see here. And then Dex. Let's see here. Oh, and then we do want to remind you. We'll quickly head over and remind you of what the Netherlands Dutch commander-in-chief said, and that was to prepare for a war with Russia. That was, just to remind you, that was Lieutenant General Martin Wingen, commander-in-chief, the Dutch army, who will resign in 2024. So he's resigning this year, has stated that the Netherlands and its society must prepare for the war with the Russian Federation. So obviously, it's something that people should be starting to look at, especially if you are in Europe. Now, quick break here for a second. I do want to remind you, if you are trying to prepare and you have a big family, then there is a really, really great way to actually prepare on your own and get your own freeze drying going. This is about a quarter of the price than getting prepackaged foods. There is a price to actually invest in the machinery to do it, but once you have that, you are going to be able to freeze dry your own food and not be dependent on whatever is prepackaged. You're going to be able to decide and have your own restrictions, your dietary restrictions, all of that. You're going to be able to preserve almost everything and anything. As long as it's good now, you can throw it in and freeze dry it, and it could last up to 25 years. If you have a garden and you're constantly wasting fruit and veggies that essentially go bad because you can't eat them all, this is also a great thing. Any food that you can think of that maybe it might be closer to something you wouldn't eat, freeze dry it and preserve it for way, way later. Then later on, in 10 years from now, you could add water or cook in water, and then you have yourself a great meal. What's great about this too is it can do depending on which units you get, even the smallest one can do it definitely bats above its average. So again, this is one of the most commended machines out there, and during really crazy times like CV, you could not get one. In fact, people were scalping them. They were almost impossible to get, and they have gone up in price along with freeze-dried food and the entire technology behind it. Everything has kept going up. So once you invest in something like this, it's meant to last. These are very, very well-built machines, and that is why this is one of the best brands out there. If you have a big family, this can actually pay itself off. As far as if you are trying to get 6 months of food for a family of 4 or 5, then yeah, this is something that's going to be way cheaper than buying 6 months of food for a family of 5 and doing it pre-packaged through a company. Now, we have affordable options for that too. If you don't want to do the work yourself, we have options for that. But if you are somebody who wants to customize what you have freeze-dried and you don't want to wait around, you can go get yourself a Harvest Right. There's $300 off with our code. Go to marfooglenews.com/freeze. At the very least, go over and enter to win one. You can win a Pro model. And again, there is $300 off on those if you go through our code, marfooglenews.com/freeze. Very easy to remember. Check it out. Go watch some of their videos. They have a lot of great stuff over there. All right, and then let's zoom over to Moscow and to Russia. There's some crazy stuff going on over here. Dex, do you want to go over Putin resurrects Joseph Stalin's secret weapon?
Kind of strange. So Putin has resurrected the feared counterintelligence group Smersh, according to British intelligence. Smersh, its name, I don't know if I'm saying that right. His name
sounds like something out of a comedy, like
I know, Smersh.
Like what was the guy that did all the old Mel Brooks comedy? The Smash.
Yeah, the Smersh. Well, its name is derived from an acronym for Death to Spies, and was formed by the dictator Joseph Stalin in 1941 to catch spies and round up the dissidents against the communist regime. It was disbanded in 1946, but now the Ministry of Defense has said the organization has been reestablished. In a post on X, the MOD said in late 2023, Russian politicians claimed that the Soviet counterintelligence organization, Smersh, was being reestablished. And in early January 2024, an open source image showed operatives apparently wearing Smersh uniform patches. So it's almost like a joke.
Every time you
But
say
anyway,
Schmerch, though, I'm
Smearch.
sorry. Schmerch.
I laugh too. I can't get it out. Um, the unit is widely known in the West, largely thanks to Ian Fleming's portrayal of its operatives in its James Bond novels, such as From Russia with Love. So you probably remember that in the movie. But apparently, look out, spies, they're going to be rounding you up. And that organization is back in full force, and something that they had disbanded a while back. And now they're bringing back out obvious reasons. Now it's interesting. We've talked about all of the people that have mysteriously perished over there, and we've also seen a lot of people that have been apprehended and detained and then locked up or given strange charges and put in jail for a long time. A lot of those things have happened. Some of them they claim to be spies. Some of them they claim to be dissidents. Some of them they claim to just be people that spoke out, and bad things happen to them. Well, it looks like they got a team ready to come after them all.
Yeah, because in the last couple of months, I mean, there's always somebody falling off of their 50-story balcony, or somebody that just happened to trip on the 100-story building. Just banana. Sorry, Putin. But as far as the last couple weeks, the heads of different channels, propaganda channels in Russia, those they have passed via poisonings and things like this. So this unit may be the one that's going after them. This is something straight out of a movie. I mean, the truth is stranger than fiction 10 out of 10 times. This is essentially a anti-spy, spy-catching, agent of chaos unit here. And then Russian journalists found perished on roadside after blasting the Kremlin. You don't need a smash to find this guy. Apparently, a Russian journalist has been found perished near a highway in Rostov region just days after slamming the Kremlin's, quote, reconstruction efforts in the UKR port city of Marfoogle, which was obliterated by Russian troops who claimed to be, quote, liberating it. Alexander Rybin, 39 years old, freelanced for pro-Kremlin media outlets while working for the left-wing outlet Rabkor. His body found Sunday near the city of Shakti, with investigators immediately dismissing any suspicions about his death in comments to state-run media and claiming that he perished of cardiomyopathy, a disease of the heart muscle. So, very well could have been something else, but I don't know how bad the problem with that in Russia is if they went fully down that same road that we and a bunch of other countries did. It says, what happened to him is unknown, and perhaps we will never know the whole truth about his story. Sudden perishing from natural causes, Sasha did not give the impression of being sick and never complained about his health. And if was killed, then who did it? Why and how? Rabkor wrote in announcing his death. Rabkor being the left-wing outlet that he worked for. I guess our left wing and their left wing are a little bit different. I don't see that is the picture of health. So, and then we are going to be heading over to the Chabat Lubavitch World Headquarters, just to give you an idea of where everything is. Again, if you guys did, by the way, if you liked, it's a lot of extra work, but did you like knowing where the locations of everything were today? If it's later on in the show. So again, did you like that? Is that something you appreciated? Let us know in the comments down below. One of the reasons behind that is because there are so many people that are, 20, 30, 40 years away from high school geography. And we have to all admit, knowing where a lot of this is in the world space of things, I would say most people don't know it as well as they think they know it, but I thought it would be helpful. Secret synagogue tunnels are causing chaos in New York. What's really going on? So, first of all, right away, people were questioning what this was, and I'm not going to make any claims of what I believe it is, but I will tell you what other people think it is. And I will tell you it does not look good. So first of all, there's a lot of just crazy thoughts on this because it is a secret tunnel underneath this holy worshiping place, right? And it is way bigger than what I envisioned when I first heard this story. There is essentially a tunnel that goes from one place to the other. They can secretly bring people in and out. What they at first was being said is that they were just trying to expand their usable area, but without permits or something. First of all, the things that they found inside the place, which has been confirmed through pictures and video, is like stained mattresses and baby carriages and baby strollers. And these are in the photos from the actual MSM. So it's not like these are things being photoshopped in. It is there. It erupted at a synagogue in New York on Monday when a group of young Jewish men attempted to stop construction workers filling in a network of secret underground tunnels. When the tunnels were discovered in December at the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters at 770 Eastern Parkway, Brooklyn, synagogue's leader called in construction crews to flood them with concrete. The actual leaders wanted to fill it in. But a group of Chabad Lubavitch students in their teens and early 20s gathered at the building on Monday afternoon in an attempt to protect the hidden passageways. Videos from the scene captured Orthodox men vandalizing a cement truck that had begun to pump cement into the tunnel. Now, there's a lot of really crazy memes out there, and I'm not going to show some of the really bad ones. But this was a image that came from it. If you look at the bed, right, that's a mattress, and it's got some sort of, dirty spot on it. It doesn't look too great. There were baby strollers. Somebody found the actual model of which one this was. So it's most definitely like a feeder or kid seat, right, to feed. It's not even a stroller. That's a high chair for feeding, right? Let's see here. Let's go past that. Also, what looks like to be a stroller wheels. There was a lot of really, really weird stuff here. And a lot of folks believe they are from something else. Now, this one's really crazy. This painting was actually found in they say it's artwork by a person. Very, very creepy. You can pause back on that. I'm not going to hover over that too long. But a lot of people are bringing it up. Artwork by Kim Nobel. And the brother of Mr. John actually owns some of that. So it's very freaky what people are saying. And a lot of people pretty much are all coming to the same theory that this was some sort of traffic going on, and not the kind that you put red and green lights on. One that everyone should put a huge red light on and figure out. But that's not what I'm saying, because again, who knows what's going to come out of this. But I will say what it looks like, right? What everybody is saying is it's a very creepy scenario. Dex, this whole thing is just super, super creepy.
So we're supposed to understand that the teens are the ones that wanted the tunnels to survive because they needed them, or it was theirs and they were putting up the protest. But I don't get the whole baby stroller or baby, high chair and mattresses, and I don't know. It just seems really weird. This story makes no sense to me other than, we know what they've shown. We know what they've told us. They know what they found, and we know the reactions that have happened. I'm sure the internet is abuzz with all sorts of, memes, as we've seen, and other things. And this is
we've
weird.
Heard about mafia, like this specific group having like their mafia. In fact, in half of the video games that show mafia scenarios, there's like the different factions. The Irish mafia, the this mafia, the that mafia, the gangsters, and then the Orthodox mafia. Is this a real life thing? Like, what else would you need a tunnel like that from two different places where nobody gets to see what's going through and through it? Because here's the thing, when they're monitoring people, if there's constant traffic somewhere, eventually somebody's going to see that. But if you're doing things underground, nobody's going to suspect a place like that. And if people go in there for a normal service every week, they could have been there could have been possible deals being done, something being done where people go in and come out of that place. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and what's with the leaders wanting to concrete it in? I mean, like you find something like that, your first reaction is, well, let's just fill it full of concrete and like, let's cover it up and act like it doesn't exist. I mean, why not? And obviously they didn't clean it out. There's stuff in there. There's tons of stuff in there. So it's just, let's just cover up the evidence. Let's just, put Jimmy Hoffa under concrete.
What if it's reversed, that the old people are the ones who did it and the young people are like, whoa, 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 why are you guys trying to hide what you did? I don't know. And again, I don't know the full story on what they were saying. A lot of the videos, they show one video and they're speaking a totally different language and there's no captions on it, but they're yelling and screaming about stuff, and I don't know which side is which. So just from the kind of surface level of this, it doesn't look good. That's to say the least. And let's see here. All right, now let's go over. We're going to talk about some X news, some of the formerly known as Twitter news. Musk X inks content deals with former CNN host Lemon and Tulsi Gabbard. So a lot of talk about Lemon in the last couple of days, in fact, because people were actually taking clips of him from his previous career. He, of course, got booted off of, off of CNN at the same time that Tucker did off of Fox. It was kind of odd, but I actually didn't know until today. I saw a bunch of clips about some of the things he said, and I was actually surprised by some of the things he had put on CNN. What's funny is most people commented how the thing they remember him most for on the other side is him drunk at New Year's Eve. But let's see here. We'll go back to this. Social media company X on Tuesday announced 3 new content deals with former CNN anchor Don Lemon, former U.S. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, and sports radio host Jim Rome, part of an effort to grow video content on the site. The Elon Musk-owned platform, formerly Twitter, has struggled to retain advertisers amid a series of controversies ever since the billionaire bought the company in 2022, and is betting brands could return alongside with 3 personalities. In a blog post on Tuesday, X said that it was now a video-first platform, and users were watching videos in 80% of their sessions. This is true. When I go there, it's just like shorts or like anything else. You scroll through and you can see a ton of stuff. And it's all usually, depending on who you follow, that's really what you need to do, is make sure you're following the right accounts. You will find all of the freshest videos of all of those different accounts. And it will go through first what you follow, and then it will go through random ones that it suggests. But what else alongside this, they are saying, and they're announcing all of these other features. So in the future, just want to let you know that there's going to be a lot of people that are probably going to go over and do a lot of stuff there. They said that they're going to add all sorts of streaming tools and other things there. So we'll see how that ends up working out. But it is really interesting, to say the least. And then thank you, KT Cleans a Lot says, Adam, could you please read this special one-time message to a special person named Nick and tell him, fact, Katie hearts you more. Thank you, LOL. Katie loves you more. Drop the mic. Stephen McMahon says, off to work. Love y'all. Stay salty. Stephen McMahon, thank you for staying this late. And I know it wasn't a super late show today, but it's definitely earlier than some. So I'm glad you got to make most of the show. Speaking of which, thank you for the light 569. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. J.R. Pale Horse. And then again, Julie Pilkerton, thank you for getting another badge. I appreciate that. Cylin and Cyborg 14, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. Over on D Live, thank you everybody that has joined us over there. Kimbria, Yobia, Kimbria, Yobi, Chance Paladin, thank you for holding it down there and modding. Fractured Fusion, Skyhouse, Pisces, thank you for gifting a badge. I appreciate that. It looks like Skyhouse actually grabbed it. And then Bad Allergies, thank you for the lemon. And then Vault Music, thank you for the diamond. It says, for Poco, God bless all Foogle fam. Well, thank you guys. And before we move on, this is coming clutch. I don't know if I said anything about this on news or here, but we've lost power 3 times. In fact, so much so that I've actually grabbed, it looks like, let me see if this is still here. Let me see if this is, Roz Alert. I don't know where Roz Alert actually lives, but it says, Welp, the entire town just lost power, and I only have 5% battery left. Now, before we go into that, I just wanted to think it was pretty interesting. A lot of the comments here says, got the candles lit, only 3%. Everybody was like, car charger. Everybody says, you're Roz Alerts, but you don't have, you're not a prepper. It says, everybody says, you need to invest in a generator. You need Occam's Razor. I feel like that's one of our friends here. You need power stations. Your channel is too important to go down. And I agree with that. If you're a big channel Twitter like that, like he should totally have, I don't know if it's he or she should have a generator. And what's crazy is I have lost power 3 times. The longest time was for 6 hours, and then had the power restored. And then 2 hours later, it was out again. I've lost power 3 times in the last 48 hours because here in Washington, we're having all sorts of crazy winds. We're having downpour rains. I mean, it's just getting nuts. And it was funny. I talked to Dex. Dex, you're having storms over there too in Georgia, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We had flooding. We had massive 45-mile-per-hour winds. We had wind problems. It's all over now for the most part, at least where I am. I guess it went north. And but we even saw where I have family down in the panhandle of Florida. They had tornadoes come through in Panama City Beach, of all places.
Yeah, and then Roz Alert, they don't say what city they're a part of, but they said the entire town just lost power. This is why you need a generator, and this is something that we've recommended for a long time. We have gotten by, and anytime our power goes out, so we have, of course, an energy system. I have the X2 and I have the Flex 1500, and I have one of their test versions of the Flex Tactical. Again, this is an expandable solar generator. So this actually can not only be expanded, it can be modded. You can actually add in different mods like a Lego brick. So for instance, I didn't know how long I was going to have power on the 3rd time in. My one generator was down almost to like 7%. So I had to charge really fast. So what I did is I ended up getting the rapid charger, putting it in, and I was able to charge 2 of the batteries in about an hour and a half. When normally, if you're plugging it in with the normal charger, it takes about 4 hours per battery. So to charge both batteries, it would take like 8 hours. It took for 2 an hour and a half. If one, I can charge it in about 45 minutes because it charges it at 1200 watts per hour or up to 1200 or close to 1000 all the time. So this thing is absolutely a beast. It is something that if you already have the Flex 1500, this thing is great, and it's dual use. It's also UPS, so it turns it into an uninterrupted power supply, meaning that when you have your fridge plugged into the unit plugged into the wall, it's not going to hurt the battery. It's going to draw power from the wall, and then once the power goes off, it immediately tells it to switch over to the generator. It is such a cool mod, and again, if you already have the Flex but you don't have one of these, the biggest thing is that if you know there's a storm coming, you can quickly charge up all of your batteries and do it like that. That is what's so cool about it. Otherwise, the coolest part is it's silent. It can be run inside the house. You don't have to store fuel, and teamed up with some of their folding panels, you're able to get power, unlimited power for free from the sun. Not to mention there's other mods that allow you to plug in 3 times the amount of panels. So instead of 4, you can do 12. I mean, the thing is now this is to the point where you could leave the house with a handful of panels and the generator and power anywhere. If you just want a portable unit, you can grab just the unit and one battery, unhook the rest of the batteries, and then boom, take that with you. Take it with you to work. Use it for power drills or for power tools, and then of course you can also go camping and power a whole campsite with lights and whatever other appliances. So there's a million uses for this, but with a lot of people losing power right now, it doesn't have to be the end of the world for you to have use for a solar generator. A lot of people have thanked us already. This has gotten a lot of people through storms. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. You get a huge discount and you're helping us too. So that's the best part. You're not just giving us a donation. You are actually helping us at the same time as getting something you're going to be able to keep for years. They are built like tanks, and now they've even made them better. The tactical is literally going to be shipping out with the U.S. Army under the SBIR Phase 2 contract. This one was designed with the Air Force Research Laboratory. So that one's got the steel reinforced frame. It's got the 1,500-pound latch system. It's dust and water resistant, and it has heaters built into every battery. The latch system alone is absolutely awesome. Go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And if you're already deep into the regular system, they are going to make adapters so you'll be able to put the heated batteries onto the older system. They might even already have it. So go check. marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And now we're going to go to DC for some DC related news. So this is really crazy. So Dex, I'll have you. You're way better with Bitcoin than I am, and I'm not even going to pretend like I know what this means. So
Everyone in the crypto space has been waiting for this thing called ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs, to come out. And this is an exchange traded fund. It is basically an easy way to invest in a particular commodity or item. They load up that commodity or item around this fund, and you just buy the fund, and it rides. It basically floats up and down with the value of that item. In this case, the value of Bitcoin. It's been talked about for years now, and the SEC has been talked about approving it or not approving it, approving it or not approving it. And everyone was waiting and expecting it to come out any day now. And today, a tweet comes out from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission that says, today, the SEC grants approval for Bitcoin's ETFs for listing on all registered national security exchanges, and the approved ETFs will be subject to ongoing surveillance and compliance measures to ensure continued investor protection. A nice quote and a picture from the chair, Gary Gensler, I believe is his name. Then it turns out that moments later, they had to come out and say, well, that's not really true. We think we were hacked. Our account was hacked, and that was not a true tweet. We haven't actually approved them. Now, this actually sent Bitcoin up, and of course, it came right back down right after that. But now a lot of people are even questioning, maybe this really was the tweet that was supposed to go out, and they just went out at the wrong time, and they're trying to cover their tracks. We don't really know at this point, other than the fact is the tweet did come out, and the SEC did come out and say, hey, we were hacked, and we did not mean to do that, and it was not an approved tweet. So at this point, mind you, the irony is the SEC is the organization, the Securities and Exchange Commission is the organization that sort of monitors and makes sure that nobody is manipulating the market. Yet they put out a tweet, or their account puts out a tweet that manipulates the market, so to speak, in a big way. It did recover, and it went right back down, etc. But this is big news when it does happen, and some are even expecting it to happen even tomorrow. They just thought maybe the tweet was premature. We don't know that. We don't know yet. But the irony is what the SEC did.
Yeah, their tweet, which they are the same, aren't they? The SEC went after Elon for.
Yes,
they were the same agency that went after him for putting 420 or something on his tweet for Tesla and all this other stuff because it was manipulating the market, right? And
correct.
Doge.
Yeah, and he said he wanted to buy his stock back at a certain price, that it was worth this or worth that. All of those were market manipulations, they said.
And that was the SEC, where they just put out a tweet that I think that was a real tweet. I don't know. Even if they were hacked, that they actually, whoever hacked that and did that fake tweet actually wrote it very well, and it looks like a legit tweet. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess the picture of the guy, that even looks like their style, their creativelessness style of having that guy on there. Today's approval enhances market transparency and provides investors with efficient access to digital asset investments within a regulated framework. Gary Gensler. I don't know. I don't know why he sounds like that, but I just call it like I see it. And then they say it's not. So they manipulated the market. And then journalists caught on a hot mic joking about T-Man being taken out like JFK. Two media members were heard cracking jokes over a hot mic on Tuesday about the former president Donald Trump being cut down by an assassin bullet as they waited for him to appear at the federal courthouse in Washington. So whether you hate him or love him, and I know there's people here that are not fans, I think it's really crazy the level of obsession with the guy, how he is talked about nonstop. They make all the jokes like he lives rent free in the other half's brain and all of that. It really does feel like that. Our current prez is still doing speeches talking about him. Every speech mentions how it's all about him and him. After talking with family members that are completely indoctrinated, I feel like it's being taught to the youth right now. I mean, we're talking about eighth grade through high school. They're being taught very specific things to think the same way. It's crazy to me because I feel like it's not everybody's stepping in the other side's shoes. Either way, it's two wings of the same bird, and there is a bigger system here at play. But with this whole thing, it's like it says that the whole quote here and all of this, it's like this would be completely something you could be arrested for if it was reversed. But of course, it's probably going to be applauded. It says, what the worst part is? Even if he has his window open and he's hanging out of it, he will be on the other side of the street. One person could be heard saying on the live feed, says, I mean, if he's driving, we've got a good shot. The second reporter said, to which the first replied, yeah, if he's driving with the front window open. They're literally talking about how they could take him out. Man.
Well, I think they started with the shot, like the camera shot, to be honest, but then they quickly switch it over to convertibles and JFK.
Yeah.
That's at first it was kind of innocent. Like, hey, we don't have the best shot there. He's on the other side of the street. Yeah. But then it's like, well, it'd be better if he was in a convertible. And he's like, yeah, like JFK. And it's like, what?
I do kind of see the dark humor in it. But yeah. And then we're going to be taking a trip to Little St. James. Jeffrey EpiPen's victim Sarah Ransom doubles down on Prince Andrew, Richard Branson, and Clinton. The tape of them doing the deed. So notice there's somebody missing from that, which DT is now missing from that. I believe back the other day when this all came out, there was a fury of lawyers all over the place making quotes and this and that. The original claim were retracted. She says that like Dex said, I get the point. She was saying like, oh, her friend was the one who did all of this. Her friend had tapes and sent her the tapes and she's seen it. But that could have been a way to protect herself, saying like, oh yeah, I have a friend that this happened to protect herself. And it was actually her and everything else. Well, now she's actually doubling down on the claims that she has all of these tapes on the Prince, Richard Branson, and Mr. Bill, the Hillary husband there. And it says Jeffrey EpiPen, victim Sarah Ransom, has doubled down on allegations that the convicted guy made tapes of Prince Andrew, Billy, and Richard Branson. Ransom alleged in the new release files that the disgraced financier would film her friend, quote, and they're quoting friend because they're saying maybe it's probably her, having relations with each of the high-profile men. And it says after making the claims in 2016, she then later retracted them and did say that it was because fear of her own life. I mean, think about those names. And if you really did have that, you're not going to be around for too long. It says, but today Ransom, and that's her last name is Ransom. Like, how do people's names end up having, like, I know back in the day, if your name was Smith, your family probably was Blacksmith, that kind of thing. But how do people's names now always make total sense for what they were? And then Ransom claimed that she was forced to take back the allegations after her family was threatened by Maxwell and, quote, others, but that she stands by them. The EpiPen survivor appeared on Good Morning Britain on Tuesday and said it's, quote, no secret that the alleged tapes were made. There are videos that exist. The people know that they exist, and I'm sure they're very frightened of them being released, they claimed. One thing I don't get is they would have had to do it in secret. I don't think they would. I know there's a tape somewhere. Unless that tape, if these are rich elite, you would think that they would get some sort of security that tape, that one and only tape, would go with them to wherever they're going, and that they wouldn't have some sort of duplicate. What rich, just super elite would be, like, I could see them being secretly recorded, yeah, but knowing that they recorded, and, I'll let you keep that here, that doesn't make any sense to me. But I do believe that there could be videos in existence, but they must have been done in secret with a one-way mirror or a tiny camera or something, right? I guess I'm just trying to look at it logically. Like, why would the president do something knowing he's on video and then leave the tape there? That doesn't make sense. Unless, and you could say, maybe they were drunk or this or that. I don't know. But that just seems to me like there's also the chance that some of this could be distraction and put off on the side. But they're throwing all of these people into a pit. And it's not like, everybody already knew about all of these people long, long ago. Like, all of these people are truly sickos, in my opinion, at least. Dex, go ahead.
Well, when they raided his New York mansion, the cops said they had dozens of tapes, but they've yet to be released, or no one knows anything about them. And then when Ghislaine was appeared on 60 Minutes, she seemed to slip up and admit that she doesn't know where they are. In other words, that they exist, but she just didn't know where they were. So there's multiple pieces of potential evidence that say there are some tapes. We don't know what's on them. We don't know where they are, other than the authorities of some sort. I would assume if the police in New York had them, they immediately got shipped over to the FBI, who took control of this, and we can all have our speculations of what the FBI is doing with this at this time.
Yeah, so I guess we'll never know. Probably they show it's like 40 videos and like 39 of them are Tommy Lee. Who knows? But we'll never really get the truth. I do see them, since this is already out, they're able to use this. If they want to distract people, they could put out any allegations they want, and it will go to the very top of the cycle, right? Everybody will be talking about this. We not only watch the stuff that everybody is talking about, but we also watch the back page, because what is happening on that back page, not the UFOs, not the EpiPen stuff, that's what we also pay attention to, because a lot of the times, and we know this from experience in looking after 5 or 6 years, we will cover the big stories, but the stuff that's archived on our website that we covered in those same shows years ago, that's the stuff that came true. That's the stuff that happened. It's the predictions of things, or, they're worried about this, they're drilling for this, they're practicing for this, and then that ended up happening. Somewhat like it wasn't even front page news the first time that Putin did the drills. Nobody was talking about it. Back then, I forget what it was, but it was a huge story that came out at the same time that 160,000 troops were moved to the front lines of Kiev before they invaded. A year before, they were talking about some sort of big scandal. And then after 3 or 4 days, I don't know if you guys remember this, after 3 or 4 days, then MSM caught up with it at the very last point of it, where they were saying, hey, you guys need to back off. And then they moved all of their troops back. They left all of their permanent structures, all of the base stuff, all of the weapons, all the artillery, and they moved the troops back, and they said, psych, we were just drilling. It was just a drill. It was an exercise. But they didn't cover it until the very last day or the day before, when we covered it, a week before, when all of this movement was going on. But what were people talking about? They were talking about all of the different celebrity gossip or the big story there. So it's usually that back page stuff, like Kevin Bacon said in Leave the World Behind. That's the stuff you got to follow. And I think that's true. Inquiring Minds, thank you so much for your support, and thank you for supporting Independent. I appreciate that. And then thank you, Shanna L. Thank you, Trippy Hippie. Thank you, Kato Nine Tails. What is going on? Red and blue, color of royalty, purple. Sean C. Very strange, and how it's all related. Let's see here. Solar Monk, Callie Singh, White Horse. When love is lost, the power within the love is also lost. And then JD Etheridge. Hate the Clintons, but if there isn't proof, it's only hearsay. Exactly. That's the thing too. See, in a world where you are guilty until proven innocent, I think that's pretty backwards. And I don't care how much you hate somebody. Really, the true court now is in social media. Social media and is your judge and jury now, and I don't think that's right either. If somebody has a previous reputation of something, then they're guilty. Or if they even have anything that could be persuaded. But Bill, I bet absolutely that's true. But the Branson part, I don't know much about Branson. I've seen some weird clips, but I as well shouldn't have said, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that he does that, but probably did. Either way, the public is going to look at that and say they are guilty. They probably are, but who knows? Maybe there are some people on that list that were not guilty, that were just associates or something like that. There were quite a few women on that list that went there. Maybe they were almost tricked, or maybe they were the victims of something. We don't know. But I guess we will never really know the full-on truth. So, thank you, everybody that has come out. Kato, Nine Tails, of course. Jesus is my king. What's going on? Thank you, Trinity. Trinity, hey, nice to see you here. I saw you were live yesterday and today. Thank you so much for, if you guys haven't checked out her videos, make sure to go check her out on marfooglenews.com/friends, along with Rip Curl, along with Ilea, along with Bones, Chance, CJ. Of course, again, prayers for CJ and everything that's going on. She actually got recent bad news. So if you guys can pray for CJ and her family, that would be much appreciated. And then Jammer 1, Lisa R. Hall, always an amazing person. Wherever you are, Lisa, I hope you are doing well. And then RJL Harris, I hope you are doing well too. I know you've been busy and have a lot of stuff going on. And then, of course, Wages World. Check out his channel. He's got a lot of cool stuff that's going on over there. So make sure to go check all of them out. But yeah, Trinity was live right before this, so make sure to go check out her live after we're done. Dex, do you want to let people know how did they? Now it's confusing. How did they get to the biography? Or the bibliography? How did they get to all that?
Just remember the website, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for today's show. Or if you're a little bit in for the challenge, try to find the description. It's down below. You got to look for a little more button or find it on your mobile device. It's a little difficult nowadays. But if you open up the description, you'll find everything else, like all of our links. But the first link that's right there will also take you right here. It's called the show notes link. It's where we put everything together on the website, all the sources, all the links, all the tweets, all the videos. It's right there for you at your perusal. marfooglenews.com. And then click on the thumbnail for the show.
All right, well, thank you guys, and thank you so much for all of the supporters today. Inquiring Minds, Stephen McMahon, KT Cleans a Lot, Ilea, Peppermint, thank you, and thank you. By the way, thank you over on DLive. Thank you, Vault. Appreciate your support. Thank you, Priscilla R. Thank you for always stopping by to say hello. And let's see here. There was one person, I believe. Oh, and then For the Light of 559. Thank you so much for subscribing. And I appreciate each and every one of you that ends up giving us a chance and hitting that subscribe button. It is kind of the ultimate, like, we appreciate the work you put into this. When you subscribe, that's a big thing for us. So thank you, and thank you. And then Schaefer Girl, Danish Girl, Stephen McMahon, again, thank you. And Judy Bira, thank you again. Loved to hear your comment yesterday. That was just really, really cool. Jay, Troll Slayer, Merlin, Liz Potter, of course, Carol, Olga Turan, Ross Adams, Richard Turner, Carol White, Amanda Ruiz, Loaded Wrench, Bible Tech 777, wherever you are, Jerry Schertz, Alex Hawkins, and Ripple Effect. Thank you again. Thank you. And Chanel Bevelicqua. Liqua. Thank you, Dex, especially Dex James. Thank you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's at the tip of my shoutro. We're gonna make a fresh one. Looks like tonight's top supporter is actually a tie between KT Cleans a Lot and Inquiring Minds. You're on the board, I get all the songs of you out there. Inquiring Minds all of the time. We are just doing fine. Inquiring Minds doing just fine. Inquiring Minds doing real fine. It's all about the time. Inquiring Minds doing just fine. It's all about it. Inquiring Minds doing just fine all of the time. Inquiring Minds doing just fine. Inquiring Minds doing just fine. Do it all the time. Inquiring Minds doing just fine. Do it all the time. Inquiring Minds doing just fine. Do it all the time. Inquiring Minds doing just fine.